All right, you ready? Okay. Beef shank comes from what primal?
The round.
Okay. Motion muscle or sedentary muscle?
Motion muscle.
Heavy? Heavy motion muscle? Sure. Cooking method? Cherry? Cooking method? Cooking method. What? I don't know. You asking me or telling me? What did you say? I didn't hear you. Moist, right? Motion and moist. M&M's, right? M&M, motion and moist. If I don't have M&M's, sedentary and dry. Okay. First step is you're going to take all the outside skin and fat off, the unwanted stuff. I refer to this as the common sense trim. You can do this with flat knife. Flat knife technique. Just trimming it off. Now today you're going to present a tray to me with your finished product. So that means you're going to have your unusable on the tray. You're going to have your usable on the tray. And a pull-over cut. Pull-over cut is exactly what it sounds like. You get underneath the skin, make a tab, pull it over our knife and hold it down. You can't just hold it up like this. That's not a pull-over cut. Pull it over, hold it down, tilt your knife up slightly so that you're basically scraping the bottom of that skin. Okay, choke up on it, pull it over again, hold it down. This hand's not moving. Again and again. That's a pull-over cut. Watch again. Underneath, pull over, slight tilt up on the knife, coming down in one motion. Notice I'm not sawing, cutting. This is a knife, not a saw. One motion, one motion. Back up, one motion. Okay, flat trim, flat trim, flat trim, remove. Okay, you're going to go all the way around the shank, taking off all that exterior. This is a common sense trim, is all it is. You know you're not going to eat it. You know you don't want it in your stew. Let's get rid of it. Okay, so I got the fat off. Now I want to go back and get the rest of the silver skin off. Pull over cut. Okay.
Is there a percentage of fat that you still want to leave on there?
Well, we're going to leave a little bit on because this particular muscle, this particular primal is so hard to get all the fat off. I would say you're going to get this about 85 to 90% denuded. There's just a lot going on with this piece. Okay, I got a lot of silver skin down here. Here. left up in here. Denuding takes a few minutes, but every movement of your knife should have a result. Otherwise, you're wasting steps. Okay, it's all unusable. Here. Now, this should not take you that long. I will keep you posted on where you should be at what point so that you stay on track. You may have to push yourself a little bit. Okay, you need to stay on track. Do not fall behind. What happens if we don't finish our timeline on time? It throws everything off, right? Dinner's not ready on time, and you lose points for not being on time. You don't want that to happen on the first day. You don't want it to ever happen, especially on the first day. All right, so I'm pretty well cleaned up around the outside edge. I don't really need to take any more off of this right now. Okay, so what I want you to do at this point now is, again, the widest part of the bone towards you. You started to go down. I'm not sure if I mentioned that to you or not, but when you started the denuding and the cleaning, the widest part of the bone was towards you. All right, now, what you'll see here, if you roll the shank so that you have all bone up here, that's your starting point. Depending on which side of the animal you have will determine whether this solid side is on the right or whether it's on the left. This particular one is on the right. And you'll see the difference. It's a much larger muscle, one muscle than over here. And what you're going to do is take the tip of your knife. Now we're going to debone. So you did some flat trimming. We did some denuding with a pullover cut. And now we're going to debone. So when you're deboning something, you should only be using about the first 1.5 inches of your knife. Okay. That's what you should be using. Okay. When you hold the knife, most people want to hold the knife like this because they think it's very secure and so on. And then you got to turn your whole arm to make that blade go straight. Not comfortable, not as much control. All right. But let's take that knife and let's just swing the knife out. Leave our arm straight. Okay. And let's put our index finger over the blade, like so. All right, over the blade. Now, you've taken your middle finger and your thumb, you've grabbed the collar of the knife, right? And now you got super control. You can do almost anything you want from this point. The knife has now become an extension of your arm. Okay, elbow up gets the tip down. If you're trimming, when you're trying to debone with this part of your knife, that means this part of your knife is someplace where it doesn't belong. More than likely, you'll be cutting some profit or be in your thumb or your hand or your palm. Okay, you don't want that. All right. Elbow up, tip down. Start at the very top of the solid side. Get your knife right up against the bone and begin to follow the bone down. Your hands must work in concert with each other. So as I'm cutting, I'm also pulling away the piece of meat that I'm trying to remove. Look at all that cellophane in there. All that beautiful collagen, all that beautiful flavor that cooks down. Okay? It all cooks down nice. So around. Now once you've got it started, you're pretty much free to turn this thing any direction you want. I just want everybody to start on the same page. I want everybody to start at the top. Okay. Don't just work in one area. A to B. Work the whole length of the bone. Work the whole length of the bone. Okay. Let's put it back together just for a minute. At the solid side. At the bottom of the solid side, there's going to be your first obstacle, which is going to be a bone growth, way down here at the bottom. Okay? This is called the hook. We call it the hook. In a few more months, some of you may have it developed on yours already, the shank. In a few more months, this little piece of hook that we're feeling down here would grow into a bone and it would attach itself up in here. Okay, it's called the stifle bone. Stifle. This particular one, this is going to be where you're going to say, I can't get through this, I can't get through it. Well, depending on how much growth is there, maybe it's cartilage, maybe it's already starting to develop some bone. But you can get through it, maybe you have to get up and over it. I don't know, but you're gonna go through it. You have to get through it one way or another. Okay? That's required. Okay. Again, starting at the top and coming down. This one here feels a little bit good growth on this one. I'm going to start to go around it a little bit. Start to go around it. When I get it out, you'll see it. Yeah, it's a good size one here. There it is, softens up a little bit so I can go through it now. See it? Okay, again, right against the bone. When you're deboning, if your knife isn't touching the bone on one side or the other, you're doing something wrong. Your knife should never be in the middle of the meat, ever. Not when you're deboning. If we're making cubes or cutlets or something, that's a different story. But we're taking the meat off the bone. So that means the tip of our knife has to be right up against that bone. All the time. All the time. Once the bone is out, bring it to me. Let me get a look at it, and I'll have to tell you whether or not you need to go back to your bench and clean it some more. Okay. But there it is. There's the hook. Pretty good growth here. Okay. Up here it started to get soft, and I was able to cut through it. But down here was pretty hard. That's going to be your first major obstacle. You're going to see that, and you're going to say, geez, now what am I going to do? Well, that's okay. It's there. You're going to get it. I guarantee it. Some of you might be here. Some might be up here. The last class, I had one that was connected. It's connected. Pretty cool.
I think it worked the way around it okay?
Oh, yeah. Great job. Great job. Okay, so this was my first job in the meat business. I was taking a knife and cleaning off all the red off the white just to make sure I could get a feel for the knife. That was weeks on end. Weeks on end. Okay, so the bone is out. We're going to get a look at it. If I approve it, you're going to throw it in the middle bin. Okay. Okay, our next step is to take the whole shank, and we're going to go back to that solid side again, and we're going to remove that solid side. We're going to find its natural seam, and we're going to take that solid side right off. There's a little tab on the bottom that you're going to say, geez, does that stay on here, or does it go over here? I prefer this piece. It's right here. I prefer this piece to go over here. All right. Now, this piece, heavy piece of the Achilles tendon here. Just take your knife and cut it off. Don't try and save it. If you get a little too much red on it, then go ahead and try and get some of that red off. Red is?
Money.
Money. Red is?
Red.
Red, thank you.
Red is red.
Okay. Motion and? Motion and? Thank you. Okay. So here, I've just basically, I have not denuded this whole thing. I've just taken off any heavy fat that's on there. That piece is done. That'll go 3 pieces in a number 3 bag. Cryback team, 3 pieces in number 3 bag. Okay. All right, now, back over here. This was our outside that we worked on. Pretty clean. Because the bone is out of it, I got a little bit more access to some of the stuff I couldn't get before. Get that out of there. All right. Here, some heavy cords here. In here just a little bit. Gives me the opportunity to just do a little bit more house cleaning. All the time I'm doing this, I'm thinking, I can't over trim. I can't over trim. I don't want to waste money. Can't over trim. Okay. If I turn it in, turn it upside down, this, you can actually see a blood vessel right here. If I squeeze it out a little bit, you'll see some blood come out of there. Okay? That's an actual blood vessel right there. That's got to come out of there, along with all this fat connective tissue that's in there.
What's this piece of meat called?
This is just, that's the solid side, this is just shank meat. That's all you need to know about shank meat. Boneless shank meat. Can I buy boneless shank meat?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Sure I can. So inside of this cluster right here, you have that vessel. Okay. So this is all junk, we don't want that anywhere in our food line. Okay, and I still got some cartilage here. Alright, I don't really want that, that's pretty thick. Alright, over here, a little bit of flat trimming. Up in here I got some fat. Usable trim. Really not going to do anything with that other than usable trim. Pretty heavy cord there. A little bit of meat out of that. A little bit of meat off of that. Okay, garbage. Some more silver skin. You'll be able to do some more cleaning. Like I said, once you get the bone out and you see what you got, you'll be able to finish your cleaning. I'm about as clean as I can get this piece right now for what we want to do. My finished product is going to be a 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch cube. That's going to be our finished product. So I'm going to cut this. If you don't have a ruler, I suggest you get one or borrow one from somebody. If you see I got these two pieces here that are just kind of hanging on. Do I want to get rid of them? I don't want to get rid of them. But I want to just move them over so I can go back to them. Because they're just kind of in the way right now. This piece over here, same thing. Seam it off, put it off to the side. Right? Now I got this beautiful piece of shank meat that I'm going to make into 1 inch cubes. Well, there's a process. First step of the process is going to be to even the wall a little bit. Just get yourself, without being wasteful, just cut yourself a nice clean edge, nice straight edge. Now I want you to measure over 1 inch and cut straight down, straight through. Okay. Measure over 1 inch, straight down, straight through. 1 inch. Turn it around. You know, whatever's comfortable for you. The result is 1 inch strips. How you get there, I can leave it up to you. I can guide you on how I would get there, which is I'm doing right now. But if you need to turn it a little bit, whatever, that's what you do. And now this one here, just a little bit wide on that one end. These pieces that I took off before, you know what, they're doable. We can clean that up a little bit. Get myself my nice straight wall again. 1 inch. Cut 1 inch. You gotta be somewhat creative, okay? You gotta remember that today it's my money. It's my budget. Next time it might be your budget. Okay? So, you're going to learn how to respect. Now, one of the things that I was taught, and it stuck with me forever to this day, you treat every piece of meat like it's the last one that you own. Don't get that false feeling of security where you say, well, I got 15 more in the cooler, what's the big deal if I throw one extra away this time? Because that ends up being a little bit more and a little bit more. And you end up falling into a really bad habit of being very wasteful. So if you're looking at this piece of meat like it's the last one you own, you'll always maximize the utilization. That's your mindset you should have. All right, so I've cut my 1 inch strips. Get a nice piece here to work with. I've I've cut all these 1-inch strips from everything that I had to work with. So I'm 1 inch high, I'm definitely more than 1 inch wide, and I know that I'm more than 1 inch long. So now my next step is again now to straighten this out. And you notice I'm not taking a lot off just to get a straight wall, just taking off the minimal that I need to make a straight wall. Now I'm going to come over again 1 inch and make my cut. Okay. And then I'm going to go, see now I don't have enough to make 2, but I have enough to make 1. Take that off. Okay, this becomes usable trim. There's another 1-inch strip. I'll go right down the line and I'll do all of these the same way. Pick a side that you want to work with. Don't sit there and flop this thing over 47 different directions, okay? Pick a side, work with it. Okay? Don't be wasteful because I'll be looking at that. 1 inch. You got the knife. You control what happens. This piece here now, if you look at this, you say, well, geez, what am I going to do with that? Well, you look at this as usable trim. I look at this as cutting it off here, here, and I look at that as being something that we make a couple cubes of. Or some of you might look at it and say, yeah, it's too small, you can't do anything with it. Well, yeah, I can. Right? Okay, and again. Again. Okay, so you get my drift here. You understand how to do this? Okay, sure. Now, finished product. So I cut my one strip both ways. My finished product is going to be very simple. I square off my one end, so I have a nice even, again, even squares to work with. I'm going to come down. I'm going to measure 1 inch. Measure 1 inch. Now I know what 1 inch looks like. You guys need a ruler. All right. Okay, next piece. Careful, if they come up a little bit flat, maybe you don't want to use them. For a nice piece to work with. Actually, that's good. I'm going to stop here for just a second. Okay. Turn off the other edge. I like this side better. Here I'm going, 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch. Now, today, and only today, you can take one of these cubes back to your bench as a model, as a template, so to speak. And what you're going to do is you're going to take that cube and you're going to put it in front of you. Okay. I'm going to make everything I do look like that. So how do I do that? Well, let me take my piece. Put it on here. I know I got to square it off, not being too wasteful. Then I'm going to set it right up against my model, and I'm going to cut. Push it off to the side, and I'm going to cut, and then I'm going to cut. I'm cutting every single one to the same piece. So, and I got a nice 1 inch cube. All right. So if I give you this piece to bring back to your bench and you put it in front of you and you use it for a model, there really should be no reason why you should bring me a cube that looks like that. Is that correct?
Sure.
All right, it's pretty simple, isn't it? I call this being idiot-proof. Excuse me for being harsh.